She was confused. She didn't know if she had done a shooting because she heard shots. She didn't know if he had been shot or what was going on. Witness number 1 attempted to get information from him, but he wouldn't answer any questions. She drove him back to the area where he lived and dropped him off. That night, he called and asked if he could stay at her place. She allowed him to stay at her place, according to her, still not knowing that he was responsible for the shooting that occurred at 3420 Slauson Avenue. The next morning, he asked if she could help him get a room at a motel. She did so still, according to her, not knowing that he was responsible for the shooting. 2 days after the shooting, she turned herself into the Los Angeles Police Department. She submitted to a 5-hour interview. She allowed investigators to search her car, her phone, her home, her mother's home, and she's cooperated with the investigation in every way that she has been asked since then. Investigators went out and served a search warrant on the target's home and a relative's home, but did not find the guns that were used in the shooting. So that essentially is the basic outline of the facts of what happened. You'll get a lot more detailed information from the witnesses when they testify. A couple of things I want you to be aware of. Witness number 1 and another victim, Carrie Lathan, were both given use immunity for their testimony today. Use immunity is a promise from the district attorney that we will not seek to prosecute victim Carrie Lathan or witness 1 for anything that those witnesses say during their testimony here today. The reason we give use immunity, there are 2 primary reasons. 1, it eliminates any Fifth Amendment claim that a witness might have. No witness has asserted that right up to this point, but we grant it if there's any possibility of it. And we also grant it because it frees the witness up to tell the truth, knowing nothing they say here can be used against them in prosecution. So there's no reason for them not to tell the truth. Also, in the agreement is the provision that if they lie here, they will be prosecuted for perjury. So the agreement does not immunize them against false statements or perjury before use. It just immunizes them from any outside prosecution from what they say here. So we will explore what both of those witnesses, what they saw, what they heard, what they thought, what they felt, and what they may have told investigators on prior occasions. The reason we're calling witness 1 instead of by her name is out of concern for her safety. There have been a number of threats that have been made on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram against the quote-unquote driver. There are a lot of people who have posted things online that have assumed that the driver was a part of the crime, that the driver had knowledge and intent and was a co-participant in the crime. The driver has not been charged with any crime, but out of a concern that if her true identity were known, she would be subject to all kinds of threats, harassment, maybe even violence, we have decided to call her witness 1 here. We obviously know who she is, and if this case goes beyond this process, the defense will be given her full name and all other identifying information they need to conduct their investigation if they choose to. You're going to see some video, and you're going to see some video over and over again, because different witnesses have different perspectives and can shed light on the video in different ways. A video was taken. This is the shopping center at 3420 Slauson. This is where, let's see if I can, so this is where the shooting occurred. Most of what you're going to be focused on happened here in this area, near the entrance to the Marathon store, which is located here. Essentially, what the evidence will show is that Mr. Askedam arrived, parked his car in this area in front of what will be a fish restaurant. He got out of the car and he spent all of his time in this area right near the entrance to his store. A few minutes after he got out of the car, witness 1 and Holder arrived off of Slauson, pulled into a very crowded parking lot. The driver stopped here. Holder got out and went into the restaurant called Master Burger to get some food, and witness 1 says that was the reason they went to this area in the first place. He told her, "Hey, I want to get something to eat. Pull in here." When she pulled in, she immediately saw Nipsey and she recognized him. She didn't know him personally, but she was a fan and she recognized him and she said out loud, "Hey, there goes Nipsey." Holder had no response when she said that. He didn't say, "Oh, I know him," or anything like that. Gave no indication that he had any idea who he was. After Holder ordered food, he walked directly from the Master Burger over to the group of men where Mr. Askedam was, and he engaged in a conversation there. We have a person here today who was there during that entire conversation and will relate to you what he heard being said. Witness 1 saw Holder walk over to his group and she thought, "Oh, well, if he's going over to take a picture," thinking that's why he went there, she thought, "Well, I want to get a picture with him too." So she got out of her car, walked over to the group, and asked if she could take a picture with Nipsey Hussle. While she was standing there, she heard a fragment of the conversation, and she heard Holder calling Hussle "cuz." She kept hearing him refer to him as "cuz," which is a common way that Rolling 60s talk to each other. Cousin. It's short for cousin. She also said she heard Holder say something about snitching. She heard him say to Nipsey something to the effect of, "So you've never snitched?" Or "Haven't you snitched?" She said she didn't know what the conversation was about. She just wanted a picture. Nipsey Hussle paused the conversation, took a picture with her. So witness number 1 drops down in that familiar selfie pose and takes a picture. She was excited. She ran back to her car. She sat in her car while Holder remained in the group. While sitting in her car, she immediately posted that picture on social media. "Look at me. I'm with Nipsey Hussle." She was happy. She was excited. Meanwhile, Holder and Nipsey Hussle engage in what looks like a serious conversation. Obviously, there's no sound to that video, but it looks intense, I should say. After that conversation, Holder walks back to the burger restaurant. He then walks out to the car where witness 1 is. He gets money because he doesn't have enough money to pay for his food. He then goes back in. He gets food, and then he walks back to the group another time. He shakes a couple hands, gets in the car, and they leave. And they leave out of this lot, and they drive around this corner. And they drive, according to witness 1, Holder wants to go around the block, so she drives around the block. They pass again. This time, they pull into this gas station and around to where there's a Master Burger restaurant where he says he wants to eat his food. So he had ordered some chili fries from the restaurant. She said at that point she stopped. He started eating his food. She let him. He put on his shirt, and she had seen a gun for the first time. When they were driving around the block, he pulled out a gun. He started manipulating the gun, and it's a gun she had seen him with before. She knew him for about a month. She met him back in February of 2019, February 25th, I believe, and they started this sort of, modern dating relationship where they were hanging out, I guess, They saw each other, according to her, like every other day. She wouldn't call him her boyfriend. He wouldn't call her his girlfriend. But it sounds like it was a dating relationship. They had sex at least one time during this relationship, but it didn't sound like it was a long relationship or an extensive relationship. But during that time period, she had seen him with multiple guns. He claimed he needed them for protection. She obviously had an opportunity to see his body, particularly his upper body, which is covered in tattoos, including Rolling 60s gang tattoos, which she would have had an opportunity to see. But according to her, she didn't know much about gangs. She didn't know much about the Rolling 60s, didn't know much about this area of Los Angeles, and she is not from here.